Well, hello everyone. My name is Zachary O'Shea, and this is Box of Teeth. It's also just another Mimic Monday, so I have a Mimic to give to all of you for Dungeons & Dragons right now. Every Just Another Mimic Monday, I reach deep into that box of teeth and pull out a homebrew mimic for all of you for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They're sometimes silly, often horrific, and today we have the Frame Mimic that I want to cover with all of you. Now, the Frame Mimic is a little bit more geared towards a horror game, and here is why. Rattling from the shadows, a gaggle of rat-gnawed bones marches forward, eager to slay the living. One of them, however, lags behind, looking a bit more solid than the rest. You know your mace should have broken the leading skeletons to pieces, yet it merely cracked the bones instead of shattering them. Tentacles lash out from the slower skeleton, adhering to you and pulling you closer to a maw manifesting from its rib cage. Now that is the Frame Mimic. The spawn of an ossuary mimic, one that I've made up before. This monstrosity also feels a kinship to the undead, specifically animated skeletons. It adopts a group of such horrors, and its very presence temporarily empowers them. This is why skeletons keep it around instead of hacking it to pieces as they would any other living thing. On top of that, the Frame Mimics develop a supernatural stubbornness that can only be called boneheaded, because I love puns. So powerful is this force of will that it mends the Mimic's wounds as they plow through the deadliest of spells. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the Frame Mimic statistics for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The Frame Mimic is a medium monstrosity that is neutral, and it is challenge rating 1. It's got a pretty lousy armor class, some hit points, of course has stealth and damage immunity to acid, and condition immunities to frighten, paralyzed, and prone. Like any other mimic, it has shape changer, adhesive, false appearance, and grappler, though you can only change into a skeleton, and its false appearance is slightly different. Until it uses one of its actual mimic attacks, it still remains as a skeleton as far as anyone can tell. It does have boneheaded resolve, so anytime it succeeds on a saving throw against a spell, it regains hit points equal to the level of that spell. It also has Shore Up, so undead creatures within 20 feet of the mimic lose any damage vulnerabilities they have as long as they remain within 20 feet of that mimic. In addition, these creatures gain resistance to acid damage. It can attack with a short sword when it is in skeleton form, or even if it's in mimic form, but why would it ever do that? So, this is really just something you can throw in against your players, because they're expecting these skeletons to all be very easy to beat up with clubs and maces and the like, but suddenly they're not nearly as easy. And that one over there, well, it lashes out and grapples them and starts eating them as any other mimic would, or likewise your cleric decides to turn everything and maybe the skeletons run, but one lone one remains behind, is a little tougher than the rest. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the Frame Mimic. You can find it, hundreds of other mimics, and hundreds more horror-themed monsters, all for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, all for free as well, at boxofteeth.blogspot.com. If you're more interested in the non-Dungeons & Dragons horror-related projects that I have, or the horror fiction that I write that includes grease paint right here, you can always go to www.zacharyoshea.com. I really appreciate your time and your attention, and as always, I hope you have a great rest of the week.